Welcome to the 300th episode of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I have a cavalcade of guests this week, including Kelly Guimont. It's been too long you haven't been here. I'm so glad you made it to the 300th episode. How you doing?
I'm happy to be here, and congratulations on 300 episodes.
Thank you so much. I'm really pleased to be here. Also great to be here this week is Mr. Mike Potter from Macstock and for Mac Guys Only. How you doing, Mike?
I am doing great, Dave. This is amazing. Thank you so much for having me on number
300. Yes,
Yeah.
very, very, very excited to be with all of you this week. Chuck Joyner, of course, has to be here. One of my very first guests on the show, and glad you're here this week to celebrate. How you doing?
I am too, David. Thanks for having me. I have to be here, so I didn't realize it was required, but I'm glad I'm here.
Well, always required is Jeff Gamet. How you doing, Jeff Gamet?
Happy birthday!
Yes, thanks.
It's awesome to be here. And
Yes.
Seriously, congratulations.
I appreciate that. And last but certainly not least, he's probably the newbie of all of the crew here that's been here is Mr. Ben Roethig. I'm so glad you got to be part of this show and celebrating here this week. How you doing?
As am I, Dave. As am I.
Yes. So we're going to have a lot of fun this week. We're going to of course, talk about Apple stuff. There's all kinds of things to talk about this week, including beta got a release. I can't believe it finally. Lots of news stories. Going to talk a little bit about what went on over the last 300 episodes. No, not all of them, but some good history here, and a number of other news stories and such. But let's go ahead and start off with beta. I can finally say that beta is released. iOS 17.5 as well as iPadOS 17.5 was released to developers a couple days ago as we record, and it's the next release here. Most of the features have now been released as far as everything in the EU and everything else for that matter. And it's moving on to the next thing that they're seeing here. I think a lot of the things they've seen so far, including web distribution, the EU users. I think a lot of this stuff's going to be just more enhancements for EU. I guess I'll start with you, Ben, since I know you have beta on your iPhone. What have you experienced so far?
So far, I really haven't noticed anything.
No?
Which, looking at the list, there's a pretty good reason for that. All the changes are pretty specific to either the EU, unreleased products, or mobile device management.
Yeah, seems like it. A lot of more rumors than anything else. I guess notably third-party item tracker alerts that they've done with third-party quote-unquote AirTags. It looks like there's initiatives to expand it on the things like found moving with you and alerts to third-party trackers that might be in 17.5, but again, it's all new. So a lot of it is still, like you said, rumor stuff. Starting to see some of the things with iPad that may be released because we still have new ones ready yet. We'll talk in a bit about that, as well as lots of just chatter about the new Apple Pencil. I know, Jeff, you're probably going to be excited about that. Have you looked at what they're speculating what the new Apple Pencil is going to do?
I have, and I'm very interested in seeing exactly what that really means. Here's my hypothesis. As someone who has been using Wacom tablets for a very long time, on Wacom tablets, on their stylus, you have buttons. It's like a rocker button, and then sometimes an extra little sort of like a chiclet button. And my guess is that Apple is emulating that with the new Apple Pencil, but instead of being like a physical rocker button and touch buttons, it's now touch and pressure sensitive versions of that. Yeah,
which I'm kind of excited about that. I think that's gonna, and they're talking about actually little snapping with the pencil itself, right? That's what I'd read.
Like which would tie into the way the sensors would work for emulating what you can do with the Wacom stylus. Here's the other thing, though. Right now, when you use, say, an iPad and an Apple Pencil, as a secondary screen or an alternate screen for your Mac, and you use your Apple Pencil with it, when you want to do a mouse click, you have to tap on the screen.
Yep.
The way it works when you're using a Wacom tablet is you click the button on the pencil. So you're actually reducing the number of movements it takes to do simple things like navigate with a stylus. So yeah, I'm watching very closely to see what happens with this.
So live from my house.
Crackpot theories.
Jeff, listening to you describe that made me think of the new version of AirPods Pro, where you can adjust the volume by sliding your finger up and down on that bit in the front.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that because I don't think they're going to put a button on the pencil, and I don't think that the hardware is going to change significantly, I think that you're going to maybe get some gestures like that. Like if you slide your finger up and down instead of tapping it, maybe you'll get something. If you slide up, it's one thing. Slide down is another. Much like adjusting the volume on your AirPods, because they've proven that's the technology that they can make. And for most people, it's reasonably reliable. I don't know anyone who tries to use that who says like it terribly doesn't work for the most part. You know, people like I have trouble with it once in a while, and I know some other people have had trouble with it occasionally. But by and large, the people I know who use that regularly say that it more or less works. So I think that that's definitely something that could come to the next iteration of the pencil.
Yeah, for sure. How about you,
and
Mike?
That's a bonus for watching the live stream as you saw me have that idea, because you could see it written all over my face. That listening to you describe that made me think of being able to adjust the volume on my AirPods while I'm on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Mike, are you much using a Apple Pencil? I don't know if I don't recall if you do or not.
My first gen Apple Pencil is living quite comfortably in the case I purchased for it on the counter, and it regularly becomes discharged, and I say, oh shoot, I've got to charge my pencil about once every 6 months. So I'm not super eager to get a new Apple Pencil. However, Kelly's description of the gesture controls that she would like to see on the Apple Pencil sound pretty amazing. And I think for people who are looking for that sort of thing, like Jeff, if this is what comes to fruition, it's going to be an amazing device for a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely think so. It's going to definitely be a interesting device. I mean, long time overdue. I guess I don't even know what they're going to probably call it. They're going to call it the 4th gen. Is it going to be the 3rd gen? I don't know. I can't keep up sometimes. If you throw that USB-C really bad Apple Pencil as part of one of the pencils that are out there, I guess it's the 4th, but I think it's going to be the 3rd gen of the Apple Pencil. What was it? Apple Pencil 2, Apple Pencil 3. Yeah, who knows?
I think they're going to be named after California landmarks, Dave. It's going to be the Apple Pencil Redwood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that USB-C one is the Apple Pencil. We don't talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I took one for the team and bought one and returned it right away. So yeah, it was definitely interesting here. So also a release was watchOS 10.5 beta for the watch, and you generally don't know, there isn't much to talk about there. Apple TV has a 17.5. Again, that's not much to talk about there, as well as we don't see too much in tvOS betas. And we also can't forget Vision Pro. The Vision Pro 1.2 was released to developers, and they're going to probably say they put some more further improvements in personas, eyesight, and other features with Vision OS. I did get to do the demo a couple of weeks ago. I believe I talked about it on the show. Did everybody here have a demo yet? Have you done a demo, Kelly? I know you haven't done.
Yeah, I have a.
Oh, that's right. You had a friend. That's right. You had a friend.
Right. That let me try it out, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. We're sad, Ben. We wish we could get to a close Apple Store. I don't think you did it either, Mike. Did you?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's quite a venture for me to get to an Apple Store. At least 45 minutes to an hour to get to one.
Yeah,
I just don't have the time to mess around with something I'm not going to end up buying. So
yeah. Don't blame
You
you.
don't know that, Mike. You don't know that. You haven't done the demo.
No, I'm pretty confident, Chuck.
You
I'm
want the
pretty
Vision
darn
Pro.
confident. And even if I wanted to, I believe my wife would put the kibosh on it pretty quickly. Yeah.
Just don't tell her. This.
Oh yeah.
She would know.
Well,
They always know.
We do. We talk about it in the meetings.
That's right. Just want to mention the people in the chat tonight, which is at youtube.com/intouchwithiOS. How you doing, Brian? Thanks for being here. Appreciate the congrats. And Cletus as well. And others are lurking, but hopefully you can join us in the live chat as you're hearing this. But let's take a look at some of the other stories that are out there. Actually, with some topics here. A couple things I wanted to talk about here was, I know you and I, Ben, talked about this a little bit over social media, but I wanted to kind of hit on this. This was a couple weeks ago, but the i5 is 128 gigabytes of storage actually enough for an iPhone? The iPhone 15 offers a lot of storage and lots of photos, and at least that's what Apple boasts in their and the ads that they put on there, that you should have plenty because it's on iCloud, right? That iCloud's going to back up all your photos, and the storage versus iCloud. I guess it really depends on how you use your iPhone. Specifically, I would say photographers. Photographers definitely want to have that larger amount of storage, only because they want to be able to store their photos before you can get to a computer to back it up or sync it into iCloud if you're out in the field. I'd like to know what the panel thinks about this, and I'm gonna start with you, Mike. I mean, I don't know how you have what kind of iPhone the iPhone you have. I don't think you have a ton of storage. Is it something that's important to you to have more than 120?
It's a 13. It's a 13. My 8 Plus, I was shaking my head. No, it's not enough, because my 8 Plus had 256.
Okay.
And as I own the phone, it developed some sort of weird issue with the memory on it. And I still, to this day, do not know what is wrong with that phone. I've gone through complete resets. It's wonky. That's the technical term. It's wonky. So when I purchased my 13, I thought, I'm not using all 256. It was in retrospect, maybe it was a waste of money. Maybe I shouldn't have gotten that much. So I went with 128. It's not enough. It's not enough. It's not enough. I looked it up. I have 47.47 gigabytes free right now, which sounds like a lot, but I would be well over that if I didn't dutifully clear a bunch of stuff off of it on a regular basis. So I can make it work until I need a new phone. This will be fine, but I don't think I'm going to go with 128 ever again.
Yeah, I didn't. For the record, I was always doing 256, and of course I trade in every year. This year I opted to go to 512, and I thought what I wanted, especially with the 15 Pro Max and having plenty of storage. Wasn't a drastic increase in price of what I expected anyway. I'm pretty much renting it anyway, because every year I trade it in as it is. So, what about you, Kelly? What's the space you think is sufficient for your needs?
Well, I think for a lot of people, 128 gigabytes could be fine. I think the question that needs to be asked is, why does Apple still only give you 5 for cloud backup if they think that cloud backup is going to let you manage everything and make it so that you can magically migrate your phone to your new phone and all of the things that you're supposed to be able to just do in iCloud? One of my many legitimate grievances, this is not me tilting at windmills. I am very well when I'm tilting at windmills, and this is not one of those times. 5 gigabytes is nothing. And it is essentially, in the year of our Lord, 2024, a rounding error. And Apple needs to up that dramatically. It is less than 1/10 the size of the phone, the smallest capacity of a phone that you can buy. You cannot back up 10% of a 64 gig iPhone with the space that Apple gives you by virtue of having an iCloud account that is supposed to be the thing that does all of the stuff and powers everything that you're doing with the cloud, someone else's computer. This is even before you get to syncing is all black box. There's no log. There's no any way to tell. You never get an error. If something goes wrong, you only find out when you go to find that thing and it isn't there. All of the other things about it that are a problem, like the official troubleshooting is turn everything off, wait 20 minutes, turn one on and see if it's better. That is officially what happened when you call Apple support. It is part of my day job. I am here to tell you. I have had people tell me this more than once with a straight face, like it's an actual solution, and it's shenanigans. So before you get to all of that, why are you giving me 5 gigabytes? If you want to sell me a terabyte phone, why are you giving me 5 gigabytes of space? So that's the thing I think people really need to have their knickers in a twist over. I really don't think it's a 128 gigabyte phone, because if you are not a person who takes a ton of pictures and you're doing email, maybe some late Facebooking, you've got a bank app, you're fine with 128 gigabytes. You're probably fine. Even if you're one of those people who doesn't trade it in the minute the Apple Care runs out, lots of people can be very happy with 128 gigabytes. And I mean, capital P, people at large, not necessarily the people listening or appearing on the 300th episode spectacular of In Touch with iOS. Lots of people can have a 128 gigabyte phone today and go on to lead productive lives. It is absolutely possible. There are people doing it right now, but the 5 gig blessing that Apple has bestowed upon you for signing up with an iCloud account is absolutely 100% shenanigans right down to the ground. And I think that's the thing that people need to be having a conversation about. It is not, is this phone too small? It is, give me an actual appreciable amount of storage you can see from space, not what you're giving me now.
Hold on,
let me get off my soapbox. Okay.
All right. I'll move to Chuck here. Chuck, okay. I believe you went with 512 gigabytes, right? With your iPhone?
You know what, Dave, as we were talking about this, I said, hey, let's see how much I've used. And I discovered that I had 125 gigs of podcasts, which so apparently I have something set wrong, that it wasn't deleting things that I already listened to. Yeah, I went with the 512 just because I wanted a little extra space, given the quality of the camera in the phone, and to be able to shoot some of those videos. I've had terabyte phones in the past, and I monitored apparently a lot closer than I'm monitoring this one, and never got anywhere near it. And so I decided to go with 512, and it's fine. Kelly and I have a long-standing disagreement about, what Apple should or shouldn't be giving you. So we're not going to rehash that right now, because I guess I compare it to what some of the other services are giving you free, and and note the word free. So if you need more, because Kelly, I agree with you. I think there are plenty of people out there who don't do anything near what this panel, or probably anybody that listens to this show, does. I think it's a phone. They've downloaded a few apps that are relevant to them. And so, I can honestly see, especially if you are taking advantage of that, the exception would be the photo situation, because that can stack up pretty darn quick. So, but yeah, we've had this discussion before when it was a lot lower.
32.
The bare minimum is always going to be the entry point, and it's always going to be sort of quasi designed to push you to the next level. But if you really want to get into an iPhone and enjoy all the benefits of an iPhone, you save a few bucks and get there.
I mean, the entry level is there so that they can say starts at $699. That's the point of the 128 phone, or the 64 phone, or the 32 phone, or whatever phone it is that everyone's complaining about. Like, that's why it exists, is so that they can put that price in great big letters. And then, in real life, you're going to pay another $100 or another $200, depending on, to get like the correct model. And then, are you a photographer? If you're getting a Pro Max, you shouldn't, you should calculate storage accordingly, et cetera, et cetera. So I will say one thing to Apple's credit is that if you buy a new phone, under an Apple ID, the Apple ID that purchased it gets basically like an unlimited amount of storage for a stretch, to make sure that you can make a good backup so that you can transfer things over to the new thing. It's a very recent development. I think it's come even after take a picture of the old phone with the new phone and then wait, and then all your stuff transfers for you, the whole magical migration process. I think even after that, they finally started offering this, like, we're going to lift the gates on the on the backup so that you can make a good backup so that you have, so you have space to make a good backup so you can transfer to your new device. So I will give them credit for that. But as a general rule, like you could make it 10 and make a lot of people really happy. And I would have to stop complaining because you literally just doubled the space and it's still a rounding error for Apple. And it would look a lot better than it does right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, Jeff, I got to get you in here. What space is important to you first? What size you get?
I need to have a minimum of 256.
Yeah.
And I live in the echo chamber. I think it's important that the people that are writing all the articles about is 128 gig enough? They need to remember most people don't actually live in our echo chamber, and most of those people don't need as much storage as we do. I see this, though, as an opportunity for Apple to set new expectations for the cloud storage market. They what they could do is take Kelly's advice, bump up the cloud storage that's available for iPhone users, and maybe even do something like you get whatever amount. Let's say they go crazy, and instead of 5, they bump us up to 10. But each time you buy a new device and add that to your Apple ID, it increases the amount of storage that you get. Right. Wouldn't that be kind of a cool thing? And watch Google try and figure out how they're going to deal with that. It'd probably be easier for Microsoft because Microsoft actually sells products beyond tablets and phones.
Right. Lastly, Ben, I just make sure I get you in here. What was the ultimate of what space is good for you?
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that is very subjective. My father, who is not in Jeff's echo chamber, is perfectly fine with his 64 gigabyte. I know people who have to carry around a USB flash drive because they're using their iPhone 15 Pro Max professionally. Mm-hmm. But here's something to think about. Apple cloud storage is dirt cheap, and iOS and iCloud have some really, really great offload capabilities. I have a 256 gigabyte iPhone 12 Pro Max. I have a 234 gigabyte iPhoto library, but I also have 142 gigabytes free.
Yep.
Yeah, you're able to get things pretty efficient if you wanted to.
For sure. Well, I think the bottom line, like everybody says here, it's buyer beware. I mean, just whatever you think is best as far as your needs. 128 might be perfectly fine for you. 256, I think that's the sweet spot. I mean, 256 is probably going to be a good starting point. I kind of agree with Jeff in that sense. And I was buying 256 for a while, and then just opted to, it's a little extra. And I always like. I think many of us here have that comfort level of noticing how many of the external hard drives I have laying here, and kind of hooked up with probably about 60 or 70 terabytes worth of drives exactly. As Mike's showing his drives on camera, I wouldn't be surprised. We all have more here, between 50 and 60 terabytes of drive space. And Mike keeps bringing up more. He's got a lot of them. So I don't have the props this time. You're doing it for me, Mike. There you go. Good job, Mike.
I would show you mine, but there's snake behind my displays.
Yeah.
I've got more on the other desk if you want me to get them.
No.
Yeah, actually, yes, please.
Yeah.
Mike will be back for show 400. Still showing hard drives.
Showing hard drives. He's just almost. I almost got to compare him to guys who are with microphones.
Wow, that's
I'm channeling my inner Mike. Look, I found a hard drive just sitting here.
Now he brought. There you go.
Well, never mind.
So, all right. Anyway, I think it's safe to say, it's just it's your choice as far as what space you want, and if 128 works for you, great. If 256 is probably going to be a good sweet spot, it's probably what I would think. And as Ben brings up all his thumb drives,
Ben, he's all thumbs.
He is. next topic I wanted to talk a little bit about. This has been talked about for a bit now about the RCS support on iPhone for improved texting with Android users. Google actually announced that they think it's going to be later in 2024 where the support of cross-platform messaging standard RCS, rich communication services, it's going to be, they say, quote unquote, later than 2024. So it must be coming sooner than we think, but really haven't seen much about this. I'd be curious to see what everybody here thinks where this is going to go, and I just don't see the green bubbles going away. I think they're still going to be here, even with this new service. But I think I'm starting to notice that as I text with other Android users, it seems to be improving somewhat. It's not anywhere near what it should be, like we all experience in iMessage. But I'm gonna start with you, Ben. What do you think where this is going with our RCS? And
I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say it's going to be out in the fall, because that's when the next version of the operating system are released.
Right. It makes total sense. I mean, with the iOS 18 probably in the wings once we get the WWDC here. So, so I would probably agree with that. How about you, Jeff? What do you think?
RCS is not making green bubbles go away. That's not what its job is.
Nope.
No, they've already announced that.
Right. And it's important for people to remember that. What RCS is going to do for us is give us a new, more modern texting protocol to replace SMS. And here's what I see happening, and it's going to be crappy. Not RCS in and of itself.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. But it's Microsoft that's going to make this crappy, because Microsoft is going to implement their own version of RCS that has their own security protocols and stuff in it. And what they want is to have everyone adopt not the RCS standard, but Google RCS. And so we're going to have
this. You said Microsoft.
Did I? Google. Oh, yeah. Wow. Freudian slip.
Big show, Mac show,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a Microsoft thing that they've done in the past. I mean, look at Explore.
It's 50-50. One or the other of them is going to be the one to screw it up by making it like 80% standard and then 20% completely broken. And if you screw it up, like, yeah. See also Chrome and yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, Google is going to once again reiterate why we can't have nice things, because they will be pressuring everyone to adopt their version of RCS as opposed to the actual standard.
They don't understand why Apple. Why are you being so difficult? How about you, Chuck? What do you think with RCS? I keep saying that. Oh, can do with this.
If it gets the regulators off Apple's back, that's fine. I mean, we've just told the world why this is not going to work as far as creating this wonderful universal standard that everybody seems to want. So
wonderful, universal in the United States standard, because outside the US, no one's going to care.
Right.
Yeah.
So, there you go. So again, this is one of those things that just, it gets so much press, and Apple's taken a bit of a beating for it. And nobody will call Google out except the six of us here. Yeah. That said, Google, you're doing, I mean, when you did your Freudian slip, Jeff, I'm thinking Internet Explorer, I hear you calling. It just, some of these folks insist on implementing their own standards and then insisting why their standard is best. Apple implements its own standards and it doesn't ask anybody. It doesn't make any demands.
Yeah.
That maybe I'm seeing it through Apple colored glasses, but I just see the approach to it as completely different than the heavy-handedness with which the other two entities in the discussion, or that we're having the discussion about, the way they operate.
Yeah, I'll bring you in here, Mike. What do you think on this?
Oh, Dave, why do you bring me in on this?
Because I bring every guest in on our topics.
I have to be a bad guest. Dave, because there's a short answer to this from my perspective. But I'm gonna temper that short answer by saying I have spoken with others who've expressed how much better things like group messaging will be once this is implemented. Fine, cool. I don't do a whole lot of group messaging. So my answer is I don't care. I really don't care. That's my honest answer. It didn't matter to me what color the bubbles were when I used Android. It doesn't matter to me what color the bubbles are when I use iPhone, iOS. What matters to me is the person getting my message?
Right.
I don't care what technology is being used. All I care is, are they getting my message? Now, I do understand that with group messaging and things like that, that there are some issues. Cool. Again, that's never really applied to me. So from my perspective, Apple could have just simply recolored the bubbles blue and nobody'd be the wiser, as long as the messages are getting through.
That's brilliant, Mike. That's brilliant.
That is brilliant.
I'm saying sometimes the simplest solutions are the best. Just recolor the dang bubbles. But whatever, that again, messaging to me as an individual, this is only my perspective, is not that important. If I send a message to somebody and they get that message and they can reply to me, I'm cool with it. I don't care. It's like with email. Remember what email used to be like? Remember what email used to be like in the mid-90s when everybody had a different way of sending mail?
It was amazing. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, I'm not talking about
And I had so much
Eudora.
less mail then.
I'm talking about when every email messaging system was its own little isolated silo, and how difficult it was to get messages from one system to another system. We don't even have that kind of problem with messaging. So as long as my messages get through, cool. I'm bad guest. I'm sorry, Dave.
No, you weren't. I appreciate your perspective. I'll throw in you. You can throw any last comments, Kelly, and we'll move on from this.
All I want from Apple in messaging, I don't care what color the bubbles are. And David is a measure of my love for you and my joy at being on the spectacular 300th episode of In Touch with iOS, that I did not make you edit what I really want to say about that. But what's really important, I want them to stop looking like speech balloons. I have all this space and Apple is continuing to waste it. You can now measure your screen in acres, and so much of it is taken up because we have to have the little speech balloon, and everybody's thing needs to be 8 miles from everybody's other thing, and there is no compact view option. So if RCS makes it so that I can see a few more messages on my screen and the bubbles are now purple and orange, bring it. I will accept this update with a smile on my face and a song in my heart.
Yep. All right.
Hey, Dave, before you go, I have to just make one comment about Mike's comment about just paint the bubbles blue. $10 says that if they had done that, Google would have done something to make their bubbles a different color so they could still complain.
It's a different shade of blue.
Except on Android, you can actually change the color of the bubbles to whatever you want to. So for Android users, they can just color them blue or pink or puce or whatever they want. It doesn't matter. You can color your bubbles, whatever.
Chuck, you do realize...
I think we have a show title, Color Your Bubbles.
Color your bubbles. Chuck, someone would have filed a class action lawsuit against Apple for making the bubbles all the same color because then they would say, well, I didn't realize I wasn't sending secure messages to this person because I didn't have my color-coded bubbles. I went $5 million.
There you go. All right.
You get 5 gigabytes of cloud storage for all those messages.
Although I just did, so,
Unfortunately, I agree with Jeff's analysis so much. It just makes me nuts.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. What I want to move on to is the 300th episode and how long I've had this show going. And thanks to all of you here that's had some small piece of, and that's why you're all here, is how successful I've made this show. I think back, I was going back and looking at the archives here last week and listening some of the shows, but listening back to how timid I was of doing the show, and then and how you guys have seen how very comfortable I've become because I've learned a lot from all of you here. But the show started in June of 2016, so we're talking about 8 years that we've been doing this show. And
wow, That doesn't even seem possible. Right?
I know. We got to think about. We'll think back to 2015. This little known conference that started off for the first time called Macstock happened, and I was very lucky to meet Mike Potter and would be able to become great friends. And he brought me on, and I spoke for the very first time. Met all of you, and that's what started this. And I still think back to when I was in looking as Ben's eating his cake. I think back to sitting up on stage with everybody. You're funny, Ben. And not being a podcaster, and everybody else on stage is a podcaster. So but I've played that clip before, and how that inspired me to start this crazy journey. So I could say that's what really helped me along here. And then look how Macstock has grown, and look how In Touch with iOS has grown like over all these years. So I went back to the archives. I wanted to see where we were. Of each of you have been on the show since you started. I went back with you, Mike, first because it was episode 32. If you remember that was when we were at the Apple store on Michigan Avenue in Chicago.
Was that 32?
That was episode 32, and
that was a great time.
That was. I went back and listened to it again, and I'm gonna put links to all the episodes I mentioned here for everybody here, as Ben keeps eating up that cake. Yeah, that was a blast. We were sitting right on the edge of the Chicago River, right by the Apple store. We were invited to be a part of a presentation Apple gave us from our Apple user group at the time I was leading, and that was a ton of fun. And I learned a lot from there, just bringing my gear with me and having the mic and the Zoom H6 recording, and we had a lot of fun there. And back then we talked about iOS 12, so that was. That's how far back we're going here. And then I go back to episode 35 when I have Chuck Joyner on the show for the very first time. And how I was a little nervous at the time because, I was in the presence of you as a very accomplished podcaster. I listened back. I was listening to my voice and
wow,
listening to the show. And I was like, I was like so thrilled I had you on the show, and I am thrilled anyway every time, but listening to it for the very first time was kind of fun to hear how it was back then. And at that time you and I talked about iOS 12 tips and the 10s and the 10s Max reviews, because we both had bought the 10s. Think about how far back that is with specific to the iPhone. And Kelly, it was episode 37, if I'm not mistaken. No, it was. I think it was episode 40.
Okay.
When I had you on for the very first time, and we talked about the iPad Pro when the very new first time the iPad Pro came out. This was in November of 2018.
Gosh.
When we had that. So and lots of other great guests came on the show over those many episodes later. Jeff started off with me at episode 107, and I remember you coming out for the very first time and finding about a little bit more about you as we started to hook up, and then became fast, and now we're really great friends, and we're all great friends here. But you especially, Jeff, has really made this show amazing, along with Ben as well as he came on as well. So I'll go back, and then the next episode will be episode 219. So you're the newbie, Ben. We had you come on, and
I did take a several year corporate break from podcasting.
Yeah, you did. And then look what happened.
Sabbatical.
You were on sabbatical, but how lucky I am to have you on as part of this show as well. And I look back and seeing how this show has progressed and having a lot of fun. Hey, I'm doing it because I enjoy it. We all do podcasts because we enjoy them. I mean, there's no
exactly why.
We make a little money, and that's great. If we don't, that's okay too. I think it's something. At least with the way I do this show is just the passion and having all of you here is just actually. I am absolutely very lucky to have all of you as great friends and doing this show, because I love doing it and love having you guys on all the time. So I look back and I wanted to just kind of see the history of all the devices that came out while we were doing the show. We started off with the iPhone 6s and 6s Plus that originally came out in September of 2015. So that's where we started with the iPhone. We think back of all those years. going to the 7, the 8, the 10, the 10S, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15, and almost 16 here. So many different iPhones that I've talked about for all of these years is just crazy incredible. Same thing with iPads. iPads, we'll talk about iPad in a minute because actually it's the 14th anniversary of the first iPad this week, starting with the very first gen iPad in 2010. And that was before the show, of course. But we're at the 5th generation iPad. And I think I always had iPad Pros. I started with the Pro, probably the first gen iPad Pro in 2016. And we can move all the way up to where we are now with iPads. And then you look at iOS. That's the whole premise of this show, is where we've gone starting from iOS 9 all the way up to now we're up to iOS 17. So a lot of history gone through this show and what we've seen over these many years. Chuck, you've seen a lot more history doing your show over all these many years too, but I'm just a small portion of years where it comes to that with all of you guys who've done podcasts over the years. So I'm very, very thrilled to have you here and thrilled for everybody out there listening that they've enjoyed this show. So I just wanted to have a nice little chat here and tell everybody how grateful I am that people are out there listening and enjoying what we bring when it comes to talking about Apple and the technology. If anybody else wants to throw any other comments before we move on.
Dave, your show. Sorry, Kelly. Please go first.
Well, I'm not trying to flex. I'm just really trying to remember. Didn't I come on another Milestone episode with you, David?
You've been actually on on the 100th and 200th, so that's why I kept the thread
both
going.
of them. Okay, maybe that's why I was trying to remember, because I'm like, I can't remember if it was 100 or 200, and it's because it was both.
It was.
That was why. Yeah, I love your show because you give us the opportunity to talk about the things that we care about, or the parts that are important, or you let me come shoot my mouth off and try to get you off topic, much like I do to Chuck. But also, you have a lot of practical stuff in your show, and that's one of the things that I love about it is you get news, you get what's happening, and you get information. And so, like, you know, whatever time of year, you know, if it's like unofficial beta season, if it's, you know, an iOS version has just come out, whatever it is, like, I will always come away from your show with practical information. Like, did you know you can do this thing? Or this is something that is, you know, this is a thing a lot of people were reporting as an issue that's fixed now. And like, all of that practical, useful information is stuff that gets lost in a lot of other episodes. And I really like that you put that front and center. So I just want to say that's one of the things I appreciate about your show. And part of why I'm happy to contribute to the comic relief. And I always enjoy when you let me come be the peanut gallery and throw spitwads from the back row.
You wanted to put in the comment, Jeff?
Oh, yes, sure. Yes. Your show is just so much fun. And I'm so glad that you have invited me on and then continue to invite me back. It is an absolute treat to get to be here. And your show, just like Mac Voices Live, and the Apple blogging and journalism community that intertwines with all of this.
Yeah.
One of the great benefits of what we've been doing all of these years, it's the relationships that we've made along the way. Absolutely. And getting to spend time with all of you in person. And how has it been that we have never been in the same place at the same time?
Yeah.
This just seems like a travesty.
We need to change that.
But here we are right now. We are all good friends, and we have all these wonderful stories that intertwine with our lives, and it's because we get to be part of this. And Chuck just joined the Witness Protection Program.
Sorry, I just had a little power surge there.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
Are you having weather? Are you having a weather situation, Chuck?
No, it was never mind.
Okay.
Because Jeff will run with it if I try to explain it. So
no,
I'm
go
just
ahead.
stopping right
It doesn't matter how you answer it, Jeff will run with it.
I'm stopping everything.
We definitely will not talk about tomorrow on the Mac Show.
Oh gosh.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Jeff, I felt like I'm sorry that situation interrupted you. That you were wrong.
Oh no, I was ready to wrap up, but it's okay. You know, you just like totally stole the spotlight from me. Whatever.
Literally, because he had all the light and then he gave it all away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I don't like about your show, Dave.
I welcome feedback.
Oh God, I have to
word.
leave, don't I?
Just one word,
I
beta.
do too.
But no, seriously. No, I think it's been really interesting to watch you evolve as any of us that have done shows, whether they were ours or whether we participate in others. The shows always evolve. It's because you get more comfortable with it. You decide to try something a little bit new. You get different guests who always flavor things differently. And it's been fun to watch you go through that process and adapt to things like Kelly and Jeff that, have helped evolve the show. You like that?
I think of myself as a situation, Chuck.
Well,
and I'm an incident.
Yeah. No, but more than that, though, the fact that you've stuck with it, nobody likes to talk about it because but podcasts are work. They may be labors of love, but they're work.
Labors of love.
And when you're not making a living from them, God knows none of us are. Right. You have to love it. You have to love the subject. You have to love the people, and you just have to love because there are plenty of times that, oh boy, I got to put a show out, just on schedule. But once you do, you feel so good about it, and I think that's something you've learned. And I love the fact that you still seem to have the enthusiasm for it. Because anytime I have the good fortune to be on here, there's always a lot of laughter.
There is.
And that is to me the best thing about any of the shows, but especially yours.
I look forward to it every week. So thank you all. I don't know if you want to add anything else, Ben? Go ahead.
But let's be honest, any show that has Jeff on it has laughter.
It does.
Fair.
For a long list of reasons. So to sum up, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's why I have both of you as my regular contributors. I always appreciate that you're here every week with me to make this show what it is today. So thank you. And I thought that was an enjoyment to go a little down memory lane. And let's go ahead and let's go back to some of the things.
Ben and I have swan dived down memory lane in the YouTube chat. So for anybody who's on live, go enjoy that little flashback as Ben and I figure out how long we've known each other. Good heavens.
It was probably single digits from the century.
Oh, it absolutely was. Yes. 100%.
But another thing, Dave, that you mentioned there about us all being in one place. If you think about it, relatively recently, this became possible to do a video show that pulls people in from all over the country, all the time zones, and makes it easy to do and share then out to the public. And I think that's something that we overlook way too often. Because I've told plenty of people that my best friends don't live necessarily in my town or even my state.
Right.
Because I see, or sometimes even country. Yeah. It's a complete shifting of dynamics.
It is
that. And so when any of us get together or any variation on the group, it becomes just that much more special.
It does.
And I again, it's a side effect of your show and my show and all the shows Jeff's involved in, all the shows Kelly's involved in, all the shows Ben's involved in, and especially Mr. Mike Potter for pulling us all to Macstock. And giving us that opportunity to, you actually give us a reason, Mike, to come together. And this is what happens.
It's a great community for Macstock, great community in the Apple community. But Macstock really was quite an influence on me and the show, really.
So what Chuck's saying in short, Mike, is you brought this on yourself.
Yeah, I know. It's my fault, is what you're saying. 300 episodes in, it's my fault. No,
I was trying to give you credit, Mike.
If there's any little part that Macstock has played into this, it just warms my heart to hear that. That's
it. Absolutely has.
Point.
Absolutely has.
That's the whole point of Macstock. If you go back to the first to Escape Magazine, which is a small press literary magazine I started publishing in the early 90s. If you go back to that, that was never a vanity press. My podcasts are not vanity podcasts. It's amazing how many people have been on for Mac Eyes Only and have gone on to bigger and better things. It's so super gratifying to see how many people have come to Macstock and learned new skills or learned about podcasting and said, hey, this is going to be amazing. Maybe I should give this a try. And then to see those in attendance encourage them to pick up that mantle and run with it. That's really the whole point. That's why I do it. I do it because I love to see people succeed and share their knowledge. And that's kind of what's at the heart of Macstock and for Mac Eyes Only and Escape Magazine and all those little projects that I've ever done. It's so much fun. Heck,
it is.
It's what's behind my doing other people's homework in college and not doing my own. It's all about helping other people succeed.
Yeah.
And by the way, that homework was on Apple IIs and early Macintoshes. So, I had to get into that Mac lab. So yeah, thank you. But it's all you, Dave. You're the one who made this a success. You're the one who brought it to 300 episodes. Yep. And if there is any small part that Macstock played in that, that's amazing. But you're the one who did it. You're the one who brought all these amazing people together today and through the other 299 episodes. And you deserve all the credit for that.
I appreciate that.
All I did was sit with you at lunch and be like, yeah, you should do that. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Right?
Yep.
Right?
You did.
Mm-hmm.
You did.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we all encourage Dave to do it.
Yeah.
Oh.
And look, if you
especially, Chuck, what are you doing next Tuesday? That's in my head.
Yeah, but if you hadn't enjoyed it, that's fine. Do 3, 4, 5 episodes, 10 episodes, and bag it. And clearly, you were enjoying it, no matter how timid you think you were. I never remember any time thinking that Dave's a little shaky here. He's concerned. You're just Dave, and
I grew. I listened back. I grew.
Yeah.
Even the 1 year I'm doing all the interviews, I was learning from you 1 year. I think it was 2018 or 2019 at Macstock, and I was interviewing everybody, including everybody here. Well, not Ben, but everybody here. And I listened back to that. It's like, oh my God, that was a lot of fun. And especially in interviewing Dave Hamilton and John Braun and a lot of other folks that aren't on that show very often. Was just it was a good learning experience too.
Yeah. So I do note though that the guy Searle has influenced you because I'm hearing a little bit of that Morning Zoo thing creeping in the intro. We have to talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, everybody here for your support and a great show. But we want to continue on for some few more news stories and topics here before we wrap up. There's just a few more. We got a little time.
That's not a wrap for this week.
No, it's not yet.
Oh, all right. Well, okay.
So let's get some of the news stories I like to cover too. Apple did update iWork apps with new features on the Mac, iPad, and the iPhone. That was this week. Some of the release notes include for Keynote, they added a new look to your slides with a dynamic color, minimalist light, and minimalist dark themes, and a number of other improvements. And they did actually do some improved compatibility for slide transitions when importing from the dreaded Microsoft PowerPoint, since we want to go away from that. Numbers did some updates, and then Pages as well did some updates. So go out, make those updates, which I have already done it on my Mac and on your iPad, and even for your iPhone if you use it as well. You guys are still using these? Are you using these guys on your iPhone or your iPad, iWork apps? Anybody?
Not on my iPhone, but on my iPad and my Mac.
Yeah, I've used it many times doing Keynote presentations, especially at Macstock.
Keynote, mostly Keynote.
I mean, I will use Pages as pretty much a reader on my iPhone.
Yeah.
For something I've written.
Clever idea.
That is good.
But let's just say, even with my giant 12 Pro Max, actually writing a document on it is not a pleasurable experience.
No, I agree.
Up until I started using Notes heavily, I I kept a number of lists of things in numbers on my phone, believe it or not. Because, you could edit it on the phone, you could edit it on the Mac, you could edit it on the iPad, and it all just synced so nicely together.
And you can round trip everything into Office apps if you need to, which is another thing that I appreciate about it. Like in a pinch, I am far more likely to have Pages on a device of mine than I am Word. So it makes it a lot easier. I can, if I have to, I can open a Word document and do the thing and then send it back and it'll be fine. So I like that about it too.
Yeah. Couple more stories here. Apple Card savings account did receive its very first decrease in interest rates. Oh my! So this is this week as we record. It started on April 3rd. The card is now from 4.5% APY to 4.4% APY. So I don't think you have too much to complain about when it's that it's paying that much interest, because I have a good balance in my savings account, and it's nice to see a nice big interest credit every month.
But even like regular savings accounts do occasionally, those rates do occasionally change. I think having the rate, discovering that rate would change might have been news to a lot of people. I saw a lot of people on Mastodon going, wait, why did it change? It's, well, if you had it at the bank, it would have happened at the bank too, but you just mostly don't pay attention. So yeah, I thought that was kind of funny.
I mean, 4.4% is still way above industry average.
Oh yeah, it's way better than you're getting from the bank, but the number at the bank is not the same from now until the end of time either. So that's all.
Yeah,
I thought it was entertaining.
Yeah, I'll share this. When the Apple savings account first came out, I took what for me is a substantial amount of money and moved it over to that from the bank. And I got a call from the bank, and it's like, why? What did we do? Why? And it's like, well, have you seen that Apple opened up a savings account option? No. Well, maybe you want to look, because they're eating your lunch. And I was the first one to feed them a bologna sandwich. It's yes.
I don't think there was any bologna in that sandwich, Chuck. It was all like
less than 1%.
Oh, the bologna comes from the bank.
Yeah.
Because they literally, now whether they were instructed to say that or not, but it was kind of shocking to hear them say no, and not try to give me a good reason to stay with them, because there was no reason.
Right. Yep. No. So it's no big deal. It's a small, minuscule, but you're still making some good interest on that. So, and last story I want to talk about real quick here is Amazon. Amazon's new app now lets you scan your palm and to pay at Whole Foods, Panera Bread, and more. Amazon launched the Amazon One app, which is designed to allow customers to scan their palms to make a device-free purchase at Whole Foods, Panera, and 150 third-party locations in stadiums, airports, fitness centers, convenience stores. Prior to the launch of the app, signing up for Apple One had to be done in a physical location with an Apple One device. The app lets customers create a profile, to take a picture of their palm, and then add a payment method. Finishing signing up would still require the initial interaction with an Amazon One machine. It can only be used for payment, entries to venues, age verification, and loyalty rewards. That service uses a generative AI to match the camera photo. So this is interesting, and it's all driven through Apple One's domain as well as AWS Cloud, which is not surprising. I haven't tried this yet. I don't know if anybody. I'll open to you, Jeff. What did you even know about this?
Oh yeah. And holy forking shirt balls, do not do this, people.
That's right. Yes.
So one of their first, it might have been the first trial, was at Red Rocks Amphitheater, which is
in your neighborhood.
In my neighborhood.
Amazing music venue, which I've never been to.
I love that place. And I've even played there. Different story, though. But they did a whole thing with using the whole Amazon Palm scan thing in lieu of tickets to get in, physical tickets. And then they brought the readers into the stores, and sharing biometric data in this way, just no, because we have no way of really knowing how secure this information is. Yeah. And the possibility of data breach is high enough that I would be very concerned. And this is a kind of biometric data that I mean, well, once it's out there, it's not like you can change your hands, at least not very easily.
True.
And yeah, so using Amazon's thing, I've never actually seen anyone use it. And the Whole Foods, all the Whole Foods around me, they have these. And more often than not, there's a note taped over the scanner that says out of service for whatever that's worth. But no, don't do this.
Don't do this.
Just no.
Even you don't have to be a security expert to see how maybe this is a bad idea. Just look at, like, if you want to paint with a broad brush, right? Everybody shops at Amazon. So everybody has credit card and address information stored at Amazon as part of their account. And so they're already a target based on the number of customers they have and knowing that they've been around long enough. And so everybody has, like, also, other contacts that they have stored because they send things to other people using Amazon, birthday and Christmas and whatever. And so, like, that makes them an even bigger target because now I have your information and I have some people that are contacts of yours that you like well enough to send things on Amazon and save the address for. And now you're going to add biometric information to that. Hard pass. Hard pass. I mean, remember, we have seen that they can't be trusted with the voice recordings from people's houses on more than one occasion. Like, do you really want to give them that much more data so you can buy stuff at Whole Foods? Because you can buy stuff at Whole Foods with Apple Pay and not have to do any of that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What do you think, Chuck?
And well, I want to hark back to when Apple introduced the biometric, the Touch ID and the Face ID. And look, first of all, you knew that if they screwed that up, it was going to be everywhere. And man, both of those things functioned flawlessly. More important, though, in relation to this story, is they came out and explained, because that was the first thing everybody was asking is, oh my God, I'm giving them my fingerprints, I'm giving them, my face. And they explained how they were keeping it secure. And I haven't seen any of that from Amazon yet. It's just like, oh yeah, scan this, you'll be fine, don't worry about it. And that's and I'm not the anti-Amazon person that I know some of our friends are, but it just seems like this is taking a liberty that I'm really shocked that they're willing to take, because to bring up Jeff's comment, they're going to be lawsuits over this.
There is no Amazon secure enclave,
right? And the data is not stored on your device.
No,
and we don't know where it's stored, and we don't know anything about the.
Well, we know where it's stored. It's on AWS.
Well, but I mean, like, specifically, like, is it a database? Are there walls around it? We don't have any of that information, and especially when you see some of the other, some of the stuff we used to talk about on the This Week in Data Breaches portion of the Daily Observations podcast. It's not everything is a data breach where somebody actively hacked in. Sometimes somebody with an AWS account just goes to a different directory and happens to be able to view it because there is no security set on that. And it's a place that's storing a bunch of people's usernames and passwords for something. And that's called a data leak. And that's also really bad. And you also don't want that to happen. And I think it's pretty unlikely in this specific case, but they haven't said anything about it. And they're also not explaining it the way Apple explained it, which is your fingerprint is your fingerprint. It basically doesn't change. And we're not actually taking a picture of your fingerprint. Here's the technology behind it. So, if you put your finger on the phone and it's still your finger, it'll be okay. There's not been anything from Amazon except we want more information than you are already giving us with all of your shopping habits and all of the things that you buy and all of the dates and the times that you buy them and all of the things that you say to our devices I mean, I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but if you scroll partway down an Amazon page, it will also say now people who purchase this product are also listening to the following podcasts.
Yep.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts? Mike, you got any thoughts on this?
Just the various thoughts rolling through my head. I'm glad both Kelly and Ben brought up the secure enclave issue. And the reason I'm glad is because it leads into what I was going to say. To this day, I regularly encounter people who will not use Touch ID and will not use Face ID on a phone because they're afraid of what Apple will do with that information.
Yeah.
They can't do anything because it's not a device.
Which is
Well,
a good
they don't
stance
get
to
it.
have, and
We
I'm
know
glad
that.
for those people.
Yeah, we know that. We know that, but they won't use it. So I'm kind of curious how many people are actually going to do this. Now, I don't shop at Whole Foods. I don't shop at any of the places they mention. But how many people are going to do this when, as Kelly pointed out, we have Apple Pay right here and it works just fine at the same locations?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
why
By the
add
way,
yet
Amazon
another
adopted.
method? I'm sorry, Ben?
Yeah. Amazon, you should be adopting Apple Pay.
Well, they should be adopting Apple Pay.
Or
as
somehow
should Walmart.
using that secure enclave to keep your iPhone customers safe.
Now, my other thought was that we are regularly giving up biometric information every single day. Anybody who goes to Disneyland or Walt Disney World or any of the parks, really any major park, is being scanned as they go through the gates. Not only are they using facial recognition, but Disney actively uses biometric information. They use your fingerprints and they link those to your tickets as you go in to the park all the time. We don't know where that information is kept. We don't know where it's stored. And yet we don't have a choice about using it to get into the parks. That's involuntary giving up your biometric information. Now we're talking about people voluntarily giving it up. So that was my other thought is I really question how many people are actually going to do this who are not Amazon employees.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I have to mention this because it struck me as so strange and I completely forgot about it right away until we started talking about this. I was driving home this evening and I went past one of the electronic billboards that Gulf, Gulf, the oil company,
Company
has had a big thing up, save 5 cents per gallon by using Gulf Pay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, really? Gulf Pay?
Mm-hmm.
Why would I sign up? I mean, Android Pay is bad enough. Google Pay is bad enough, but Gulf Pay, really? Everybody's trying to get in on this action.
Well, Chuck, it makes sense they would do that. I'm not saying they should do it, but it makes sense why they're doing it. Because if you use Apple Pay to make purchases, the retailer isn't capturing nearly as much information about you. So if they version of that, they now get to capture all that information that they want.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Yep. All right. Before we wrap up, and Mike, I think you know I've been doing this since you announced the dates of Macstock Conference and Expo. Since I have the organizer of Macstock Expo, I want you to tell us all about Macstock and what you expect. And I think I've been doing a pretty good job the last few weeks telling everybody about it. But why not have you tell us?
You might have the organizer, but you have 3 presenters as well. By the way,
or you, I do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I was looking, we're like 98 days away from Macstock. It's July 12th, 13th, and 14th this year. So that's pretty exciting. It's coming up quickly. You know, the theme this year is level up. And we're not only making that the theme for presenters to kind of latch onto and build their presentations around, but it's also Macstock's year to level up too. I mean, we've got an all new venue. We've got more presenters than we've had since before COVID, which is fantastic. We've got our 3rd short film festival is coming back again this year, which I'm excited about. And we might have a couple other surprises too that I'm kind of working on and hoping to get in place before the weekend comes. But Yeah, I'm gonna make another announcement here shortly with some additional presenters who are joining the lineup. But one of the things I'm excited about this year are the workshops. We've never offered workshops before, and that's that third day. That's the Friday of the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Is we're going to have 4 90-minute workshops throughout the day, and we've got 3 of those workshop leaders lined up already. We have Allison Sheridan and we have Mike Schmitz. Mike Schmitz was kind of the impetus behind it and helped me kind of formulate the ideas for doing workshops this year. He was a big help. And so I'm excited to have him giving a workshop. And Marty Gencius is going to be giving an AI workshop on that Friday the 12th as well. So that's great. And that's new this year. So that's another way that Macstock is leveling up. But, I'm just excited about it in overall. Right now, I think I have 8 of the presenters on Macstock site, and I've got quite a few in my back pocket that I'm going to put out in the next newsletter. But some of the ones that are on the website now include our Film Fest host, Wally Truwinski. We have Jeff Gamet presenting this year. We've got Dave Ginsburg presenting this year. We've got Chuck Joyner presenting this year. There's your 3 right there. Mike Schmitz, Allison Sheridan, Dave Hamilton, and Marty Gencius. And then I've got a few others that I'll be announcing in the next few days. But yeah, it's going to be a great time. Great time. Like I said, all new venue. And what I'm excited about with the venue is that everything, for the first time in 10 years, this is really technically the 10th anniversary of Macstock.
Wow.
8th in person Macstock. But what I'm really excited about is everything's in one place. People come in for the weekend. They've got their hotel room. We've got the conference center. We've got hangout space. We got everything in one place. You don't have to leave the hotel for the entire weekend unless you want to. I mean, we're not keeping you a prisoner or anything. You can leave if you want to, but everything's in one place. And I really like that because now we're not, anyone who's been there before knows there's a fair amount of driving around in past years, but we've kind of eliminated that this year. So I'm really excited about that because it's something that people have been asking for a number of years now, and I could finally make it happen. So yeah, July 12th, 13th, and 14th. And thank you for letting me share just a little bit of your 300th episode to talk about Macstock, Dave.
And don't forget, there's 2 packages available. You have the 2-day pass or the 3-day pass. It's on the website, macstockconferenceandexpo.com. Also have great discount on the hotel room. And I, like I said, I signed up this year to stay at the hotels. I want to stay with everybody because this is such an amazing experience to have everything in one place. Because you're right, it's a bit of a challenge driving everybody around, but I think everybody who has been with me knows I've been taking people around town when they were in town, so I didn't want them to have to suffer through the long drives. But it's just an absolute amazing event. Make sure you go to that website again, macstockconferenceandexpo.com. I think we've had a few people already sign up already from the show because people had mentioned it that they signed up already. So I think you've already got a few from here. So, but come see us. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait. Like I said, I'm 98 days away, so we're getting close. Getting close. With that, wow, the 300th episode. We have now come to a close to wrap up. What a blast! And thank all of you for being here. But let's go ahead and wrap up. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon @intouchwithios, at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We'd really appreciate it. And again, a shout out to Marty for signing up for Patreon. I really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/intouchwithios. Shout out to Brian and to Webb and to Cletus and many others have joined the chat. You can join us live Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch the current and past live streams as well as listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discussed on the show are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcasts, Apple Podcasts with transcripts, and many others. Better yet, go to our website, which is intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us is on that website. I am Dave Ginsburg. You can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. Kelly Guimont, thank you again for being back on the show for the 300th episode. Where can people find you?
Generally, you can find me playing Pokemon Go. The rest of the time, you can find me occasionally over on the Incomparable, where I talk about a wide variety of things. Most recently, it was the latest Dune film, and also sometimes giving wrong answers to questions on Feudin' Families, which is one of the game shows. It's legally distinct. And you can also occasionally find me when Mike and I can put together a reasonable schedule. You can find me on the After Show at aftershowpodcast.com, brought to you by Weather Alibi, weatheralibi.com for all your Weather Alibi needs. And long story. And otherwise, you can very once in a while find me doing my best to distract Chuck Joyner on Mac Voices Live, and sometimes you can find me here.
Thank you, Kelly. Mike Potter, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. What an honor to have you here on the 300th episode. Where can people find you?
The honor is truly mine, Dave. To be on your 300th episode is really special to me. Thank you so much. Where can you find me? You can find me at formaceyeesonly.com, or at Macstock.conferenceandexpo.com. And you can find me on Mastodon only, tooting.ninja/@formaceyeesonly or tooting.ninja/@Macstock.expo.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Chuck Joyner, as always, a pleasure having you on the show and joining us on the 300th episode. Where can people find you?
Dave, thank you so much for having me. I want to echo what Mike said. I'm honored that I was included in this, because it's been very special to watch this show develop and watch you develop. So keep it going. Keep it going. You can find me at macvoices.com. That's where we have all kind of interesting conversations with all kind of interesting people. Tuesday nights, we do Mac Voices Live, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are, at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. With everybody here, this whole crew is always invited. They don't always show up, but they're always invited. And every time they show up, things just get crazier. And on any of the socials, you can find me as at Chuck Joyner. Dave, again, congratulations. Number 300.
Appreciate it. Jeff Gamet, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a regular contributor. You've been a great part of this show, and at the 300th episode, it's even better. Where can people find you?
Well, when I'm not being super happy because I get to hang out on the show with you and do like the Happy 300 dance. How about Jay Gamet on social media? And I'm active on Mastodon and Instagram and Threads right now. And then for other shows outside of In Touch with iOS, on Tuesdays, Chuck still hasn't learned his lesson and keeps letting me join in on Mac Voices Live. And Chuck, I do appreciate it, so thank you. And Dave, thank you again for letting me be here with you on In Touch with iOS on Thursdays. On the British Tech Network, the big show on Thursdays, the Mac Show on Fridays. Also, Brian Chaffin and I do The Context Machine.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And Ben Roethig, thank you for joining this show and being here and being a regular contributor as well. It's been a pleasure having you, and we'll continue on even more after this 300th episode. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, just as soon as this live stream is over, you can find me finishing this lovely marble cake. On social media, you can find me at Ben Roethig. All those shows Jeff just mentioned, Save the Context Machine. Yes, Jeff, we tried. You can find me on those.
It could still happen.
Yep, and pretty soon I should be starting Roethig Tech back up again.
Good. We look forward to it.
Cool.
Thank you, and thank you for listening, everybody. This I'm just absolutely thrilled the 300th episode, and having all you that have been out there listening all these years and enjoying the content and enjoying what we bring here with all the great guests and what I've been able to contribute to the Apple community and provide everything that you guys enjoy, and so obviously are enjoying it and you're listening. We appreciate it. But for now, we're going to wrap it up, and then until next time, thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon.